Hello, Rinkrats. We're back with some more Buffalo Sabres franchise mode in FHM 12. And in this one, we are going to get the Year 7 simulation underway. But before that, we have some trades to make. And that is because we're not going to be in a good situation with the salary cap heading into next season, as we do have the contracts of Levi and Dahlin coming up. Right off the bat, I am going to sign Rasmus Dahlin because he actually did take his amount of years down to 5 initially, but I negotiated with him, got him down to 4, and 11.9 for 4 years is the offers. So we're going to submit that to him. I will do that for him. He's going to be 36 by the time it expires, because that's, not including this year, right? Now, Devin Levi, he wants 10.89 for 5 years and a no movement clause. That was after a lot of negotiation. I tried to get him down to 4 years. Unfortunately, I was not able to. I like this a little bit better than his previous offer, because the previous one that he wanted was 7 years. So 5 years is not nearly as bad, but I do wonder if it's still a little much. It's not unmanageable for sure. It's much better being at 5 years than 7. So I think this might be something I'm willing to do. Yeah, I think I will submit this offer to him. So with that, we have 2 huge contracts coming up. So what we're going to need to do, we're going to need to move some players out. So the first trade we're going to be making is to the New York Islanders, and we will be sending them Ryan McLeod. I did not want to trade this guy. However, he's down to a 3-star ability already. 32 years of age, making $6 million. And from what we saw on his contract negotiations, he wants 3 years for 5.5 effectively. That's not something I'm willing to do for a declining player who is going to be 33 by the time this contract kicks in and 36 by the time it expires. I don't think he's going to be worth it at that point. I think he's going to keep dropping, unfortunately. And it's just not something that we should be doing at this point. I mean, don't get me wrong, McLeod is I would love to keep him under ideal circumstances, but unfortunately, we are going to be running into cap issues, especially now that we've re-signed Levi. So I think it is time to move on from him and get something back for him while we can, right? So we're going to be sending him to the Islanders along with the rights to the center prospect, Eric Ogren. He is 21 years of age, 2-star ability, 3-star potential. I think he'll be a decent player. I do think he has potential to be in the NHL, but it's obviously when you take a look at our center depth chart, it's not going to happen here. We have basically a logjam at center. We have Thompson, we have Ostlund, we have Stenberg, we have Benson, we have Pettersson, we have Eklund Asp. He's not going to be fitting into this Buffalo Sabres roster anytime soon. So that's why we're going to be including him in this trade. And then coming back the other way is going to be Alexander Romanov. He is 31 years of age, 2.5-star ability. As a defenseman, he's a shutdown defenseman, so 17 hitting, 17 checking, 17 puck handling, like his mental ratings there, like his physical category. Last season for the Islanders, he had 62 games played, 27 points, and he's consistently getting, mid-60s types grades. So I would imagine his defensive grades got to be at least in the, mid-70s if he's getting these kinds of grades with, 27-point seasons, right? So we'll be putting Romanov on this deal, and we'll also have them retain 50% of his salary for the next 2 years. So it's not too big of a hit to the cap space, which is what we really need right now is cap space going into the future. And then we are also going to be acquiring the Islanders' 1st-round pick. That's right. So the offer is McLeod and the rights to Ogren in exchange for Romanov at 50% of his salary retained and a 1st-round pick for the 2032 season. And I think that's a good deal. Obviously, the Islanders need wingers, so they're getting a winger in McLeod. We're giving them a center prospect in Ogren. I mean, I don't think they necessarily need centers, but we'll take a look at their center situation anyway. They have a 34-year-old center, Barzell. Of course, he's their captain, a 3.5-star ability. But after that, not really much going on at center. I mean, they have 2 3-star centers in Richie and Romano. But then after that, it's Green, 2.5-star center, 27 years of age. No one who's really, no young center prospect here. So in addition to McLeod, they're also getting that young center in Ogren who is going to be able to step into their lineup sooner rather than later. Obviously not this year because the time to sign him has passed, but next season they'll be able to bring Ogren into their center core and he should slot right in there. And then coming back the other way, obviously you have Romanov, who we're going to be needing him with the next trade that we're going to be making. And then we're also getting that 1st-round pick. So that was, but the most important part for me for this deal was getting that cap space while also getting a defenseman back in return. So we're going to be offering this trade to the Islanders and see what they say. Next up, to the Pittsburgh Penguins. and this is why we're trading for Romanov, will be Bowen Byram. That's right. So 30 years of age, 3-star ability. He's making 8.23 on his contract for the next 4 years. That is way too much money. As much as I would love to keep him, he's just making too much. He's making way too much at this point. And for the contract situation that we have coming up this offseason, it's just not going to be possible to keep him around. And it's unfortunate too, because he's done very well for us over the years, consistent 40, 50 point guy, but it's like I said, the salary cap situation is not ideal. So we're going to have to move on from him. And then coming back the other way will be the center, Joel Eriksson-Ek. Now he is 34 years of age, 2-star ability with the high salary, with the 5.4 on the cap hit for 1 year. The issue with the salary cap is not for this year, it's for next year. So I don't mind acquiring Eriksson-Ek for this year if it's to help this trade go through, because we are obviously going to need to take some cap back in order to make this work for Pittsburgh, because, obviously they're taking on the 8 million plus from Byram, so they're going to have to send some back the other way. However, what this does, it allows us to acquire a first-round pick for 2033. It's very likely they'll accept this offer, and we're also going to include their third from this upcoming draft as well. So the offer is Byram in exchange for Eriksson-Ek, a first-round pick for 2033, and a third-round pick for 2032. Offer trade. And again, the most important part of these trades for me was being able to clear up cap space for next year, as well as trying to keep our prospect pool, stocked up and being able to call up young players when needed. And now the final trade we're going to be making is with the Winnipeg Jets. We will be sending them the rights to Samuel Malak, 24 years of age, goaltender, 1-star ability, 3-star potential, not going to be much. And who we will be acquiring in return is somebody who I'm hoping is going to be the Ryan McLeod replacement, which will be Will Coyley. He's 29 years of age, 2.5-star ability. He's only making $2 million for this year. He's got 17 screening, 18 hitting, 14 checking, 14 positioning. So like I said, I'm hoping that he's going to be able to at least somewhat fill the role that Ryan McLeod did. Last season for Winnipeg, he had 38 points in 84 games played, a 63 grade. So we're going to get him onto this deal. And I think now, it does say that they'll probably accept this offer, but this doesn't quite sit right with me, trading for a veteran who had 40 points last season. And in exchange, we're just giving them a prospect who's probably not going to turn out. So I think we'll send them something else as well. I'll include a 4th-round pick in there. So the rights to Samuel Malak and a 4th-round pick in this year's draft in exchange for Will Coyley, offer trade. And then I suppose we will also negotiate with Hellenius and Benson just to get them locked up long-term as well. And I got Hellenius for 3 years at 5.14. And then Benson, I got him for effectively $5 million for 3 years. All right, so with all that out of the way, we're going to simulate ahead and see what happens. All right, there you go. So we got all those contract extensions done. Darlene, Levi, Benson, and Hellenius have all re-signed. So it should be interesting to see what the salary is going to be going into next season. Oh, Pittsburgh said no. They cannot add that much salary to the payroll. I guess in between the time that it took for us to send the trade and then now, they must have added some more cap onto their roster. All right, then here's what we'll do instead. We're going to send Byram and the rights to Prokhorov, a 24-year-old prospect goaltender, 1-star ability, 2.5-star potential. Then we'll keep Eriksson-Ek on there. We're going to put Jordan Greenway on there, so their former player coming back to the Buffalo Sabres after just 1 season away. Obviously, he's not the player that he once was for us. He's only a 2-star ability now. But what we're going to do here is we're going to retain 50% of his salary, so we're only taking on 2.3 for the next 2 seasons. He could be easily flipped if need be. And then we still have the 1st-round pick on there as well. So it's Byram and the rights to Prokhorov in exchange for Eriksson-Ek, Jordan Greenway at 50% of his salary retained, and the 1st-round pick for 2033. Offer trade. I unfortunately did have to take the 3rd-round pick off of there, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. So we're going to simulate ahead and see what happens. All right, the New York Islanders have accepted our offer of Ryan McLeod and the rights to Eric Ogren in exchange for Alexander Romanov and a 1st-round pick. Now I'm going to wait to accept this deal until I know for a fact that Pittsburgh says yes. All right, Winnipeg has accepted our offer of a 4th-round pick and the rights to Malak in exchange for Will Coyley. Once again, I'm going to wait until we know what Pittsburgh says. Ooh, Pittsburgh said no again. They cannot add this much salary to the payroll. This is kind of a problem. I would really rather not retain on Byram if I don't have to. In order to make this work, I would also have to get Blomqvist on there. which is not ideal. So the offer is Byram, the rights to Prokhorov and Ratzlav in exchange for Erikssonek, Girard, Greenway, Blomqvist, and a first-round pick in the 2033 draft. Can I get them to retain a little bit on Greenway? Yeah, might be able to do that. Okay, yeah, I can get them to retain 50% on Greenway. Because the main idea here is just to get Byram off the team while also still getting something worth value in return, which is the first-round pick. So offer trade, we're going to see what they say. Hopefully this doesn't take too long. I don't want the trades with Winnipeg and the Islanders to expire. Ooh, Pittsburgh says no again. Yeah, I don't. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to make this work. All right, you know what? In that case, I'll do the Coily trade right now. And then I'll also do the McLeod trade. And I guess we're probably just going to have to offer out Byram. I don't think I'm going to be able to get a first round pick back for him, unfortunately. I may have to settle for a second because this clearly is not going to work with how much I've tried to bend this trade. So let's just shop Byram and see what we can get. Yeah, that's what I thought. We're going to be getting a second back for him for sure. Okay, so this is a trade that would make sense for Chicago because their weakness is at lefty. They're in win now mode, right? They had 50 wins on the season last year, and they're offering us a second round pick for 2032. So it'll be Byram to Chicago in exchange for a 2032 second round pick, accept offer. There you go. So thank you for your service, Byram, but it was time to move on. All right, so with all that out of the way, we can finally move on in this season, and I would imagine just simulate the whole season. As why is Thompson on the fourth line? Must be some crazy depth that we have for Thompson to be on the fourth line. So yeah, I think we're just going to simulate ahead. I mean, I would like to re-sign Morrow. I think he's a really good piece for the back end, but we obviously do have to be careful about how we're spending from here on out, especially now that we've re-signed Levi. So that let's simulate ahead probably to January 1st and we'll see where we're at. Oh, right. We need a new alternate captain now that we've traded Byram. I'm debating between McKenna and Benson. I think I'll probably give it to Benson just because he has been more consistent especially in the playoffs of what I've noticed than McKenna. Because if we take a look at McKenna's career stats, he had 18 points during our first cup run in 24 games played, 9 points the next season, 15 points in 12 games played the next season, and then 12 points in 16 games played last season, but only 2 goals. And then you take a look at Benson. He's got the same leadership rating, 18 team player, whereas McKenna only has 15 team player, only 13 determination. I also like Benson's 17 bravery. Then you take a look at Benson's playoff stats. He had 24 points in 24 games played during our first cup run, 12 points, 7 points, 14 points. So I've liked Benson's playoff performances better, slightly better than McKenna's. So all that in addition to his mental ratings being better, especially for team player, I think I'm going to make Zach Benson the next alternate captain. Oh boy, Misek, yet another off-ice incident. So we'll see how this affects the morale this season. We're already at disruptive hostility, unfortunately. I'm trying to intervene in the click there. But hey, you know what? It worked out for us last season, so stick with what's working, I guess. But definitely something we still need to keep an eye on. Not going to let it get out of control here. Oh, Ostlund injured for 1 to 2 months with a fractured jaw. All right, Riker Evans is finally back from his long-term injury. After, what was it? He got injured in April. It's now November 15th, so that was a good 7-month injury there. But he is finally back, and I think we're going to send down probably Mertka. Oof. Mertka claimed by the Wild. That's unfortunate. Oh, Faber out for 3 to 4 months. Whoa, Evans is now down to a 2-star ability. Did his injury really affect him that much? He was at a 3-star ability just before. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Hopefully he can get back to his former ability, at least maybe get back to a 2.5-star ability, because that's not ideal. Oh, Hellenius out 2 to 3 weeks. Oh no, Rasmus Dahlin 2 to 3 weeks. Getting quite a few injuries this year. You have Dahlin, Faber, Ostlund, and Hellenius currently. All right, so on January 1st, we are 32, 10, and 3. Good enough for first in the division and first in the league. So really no issues this year so far. Let's take a look at the player stats. Leading the way is Aram Olsen with 49 points in 45 games played. Then you have Dahlin with 41 and 41, Stenberg with 34, Misek and Benson with 30, Eklund Asp with 29, Ostlund with 29, and Nuchev also with 29. Then you have Coily with 28 in 44 games played. That was a good trade. Beryazkin with 26, Ufko with 24. Where's Thompson? Pedersen with 23 and 37. McKenna with 23 and 41. McKenna's been kind of underwhelming this season so far. Then you have Mora with 22, Ellefson with 20, Thompson with 18 and 36. Ooh, that's a regression for sure. That's unfortunate. Yeah, going from 70 last season to now only 18 in 36. He's on pace for probably 35, half of his total points from last year. So hopefully he can get back on track, because we're going to certainly need him and his goal scoring prowess if we're going to succeed in the playoffs, because he's always been a key part of this team throughout this entire franchise mode so far. And I don't think it's his time to start regressing. At least I hope not. I mean, obviously he's 34, right? But still, I would hope he's still got a little bit more in the tank, even as a 34-year-old. He's still got a 4-star talent. Then you have Romanov with 15 points, Faber with 12, Griva with 7, Hellenius with 5 and 17. Oof. So some of our top forwards are not doing too well so far this season. Obviously, Hellenius was injured for a time, but so far not so good for Consta Hellenius, and also for Thompson and even McKenna. So like I said, perplexing amount of underperformers here. Then you have Wahlberg and Del Mastro with 4, Evans with 3 and 17. That was also a bit perplexing as to how he got to a 2-star talent, but now he's back up to a 3-star talent. So I guess that was just temporary. And then in goal, you have a 906 save percentage for Levi in 38 games played and 3 shutouts. And then for Leenders in 9 games played at 874. So Leenders certainly not doing too well. Might want to consider dropping him, unfortunately, because he's done well the past few years while he's been with us. And obviously that first year, not so great with the 888 save percentage. But then it was a 923 and a 902. 902 wasn't so great, but the 874, that is certainly cause to consider finding another backup goaltender. So despite our numerous struggling top 6 forwards in McKenna, Thompson, and Hellenius, and despite a struggling backup goaltender, we are still first in the league somehow. So I'm not going to question it, but there's definitely some cause for concern. I'm not going to make any moves just yet, besides maybe to find another backup goaltender. I mean, what matters most is that we're winning, right? I'm not going to be making any major trades, but it's certainly worrying that we're already seeing, guys like, especially McKenna, dropping off with, only 23 points, only on pace for roughly 40 at most, I would say. And then Hellenius as well, only 5 points in 17 games played. That's very unlike him. And then obviously Thompson, I know he's getting on the older side, but he's certainly, I wasn't expecting this hard of a drop off this soon, especially at a 4-star talent currently. But then again, you also have guys like Aram Olsen stepping up, right? So it's a bit of a mixed bag here in Buffalo this season, and certainly some things to keep an eye on, but I'm not going to do anything major, at least not yet. But what I will do is look for another backup goaltender, because that save percentage for Leenders is ugly. So let's see if there's anybody on waivers. Nope, there's not anybody on waivers. So let's see if there's any goaltenders on the trade block. There's Camiso, 2-star talents. No, I do not like those save percentages that he has. Moving on. Volokin and Kernoyer. Nope. And those are the only goaltenders on the block. So I think what we're going to do, we're just going to call up Garant, and then we'll, I guess, send down Leenders. I'm going to say it right now, he's probably not going to clear, just given his 3-star talent and with the salary being $1 million. But you know what? I'll take a chance anyway. I'll just send him to the AHL. I'm not expecting him to clear. I think he'll get taken. I'm hoping he doesn't, but I'm thinking he will. But you know what? If he gets claimed, then so be it. So now let's go ahead in the simulation and see what January brings us. Yeah, Leenders claimed by the Oilers. Like I said, I kind of predicted that he would be claimed, but at the same time, I wanted to see if we could hold on to him as some goaltending depth. We have another injury on defense. Ellefson, 2 to 3 months. Yikes. So now that's Dahlin, Ellefson, and Faber all injured on D. So we're going to have to call up Cash Arcan Van Dale here. And we're down to 1 right-handed defenseman in Ryan Ufko. All right, so we're getting close to the trade deadline. I'm going to want to re-sign a few players here. That includes Dorian Eklund Asp, 6 years for 2.5 is what he's asking. That is a super team-friendly deal for what he brings to the team. So I will definitely do that for him. So there you go, 2.54 for 6 years for Eklund Asp. And he has 42 points so far this season. That is more than worth it. Then you have Buryazkin, 2.2 for 2 years, 30 years of age. I mean, that's not bad. It's not a bad deal for what he brings. 28 points in 54 games played so far, 66 grade. And then you also have Ellefson, still injured for the next 2 or 3 months. 24 points in 45 games played. He has a good defensive grade. What does he want? 1.5 for 3 years? Oh yeah, definitely doing that. And then Morrow, 29 years of age, 30 points in 59 games played so far this year. Good defensive grade. He wants 5.5 for 3 years. Then you have Coyley, who wants 4.6 for 3 years. That's a bit much. I mean, he does have 36 points in 59 games played with us so far. That's more than I expected out of him, honestly. But I'm still not sure, just given our financial situation. Then you have Griva, 1.6 for 2 years. I mean, what does he really bring? He's 9 points in 40 games played. Not really all that eager to bring him back. I mean, I'll re-sign him in the offseason if we're able to, but, you know, not really my first priority. And everybody else I think will wait on, but I did want to get Eklund Asp and Ellefson out of the way. Oh boy. Benson out 2 to 3 months. That is unfortunate. We've been getting a lot of injuries this year. Ooh, Jacob Fowler on waivers. So he has a 907 save percentage so far this year in 31 games played and only $1 million in salary. So I think he might be worth picking up because honestly, Garand has not done well in his stint here. 879 save percentage in 6 games played. So I think we're going to drop him as well. And we'll try to pick up Jacob Fowler here. It does not look like we got him. No, he went to Vegas. All right. So at the trade deadline, we are 46, 19, and 4, which is good enough for first in the Atlantic and second in the league. Yeah, Aram Olsen leading the way in points with 70 and 69 games played. So he's been consistent all season. And then it drops down to Dahlin with 51. Then Eklund Asp with 46, McKenna with 46. So McKenna has been on a better pace as of late than he was to start the season. Austin with 46. Stenberg and Coyley with 40. Nuchev with 39. Misik and Benson with 35. Morrow with 34. Ufko with 33. Thompson only with 29. So it seems he's starting to regress a little bit there. Then you have Buryazkin also with 29, Pedersen with 26, Ellefson with 24, Hellenius with 23, Romanov with 19, Faber and Griva with 12, Evans with 11, Del Mastro with 8, Wahlberg with 4, Arkan Van Dale with 1, and in goal at 899 save percentage for Levi in 57 games played. Come on, Levi, don't make me regret this now. He has 5 shutouts. And then Garand in 6 games played is at 879. So Levi, unfortunately, struggling. And that's after we gave him that $10 million extension, nearly $11 million extension. So I think at this trade deadline, we should at the very least try to find a backup goaltender who can hopefully perform well. And honestly, I'm not sure if there's much more that we can do beyond that. So I'm going to take a look for any goaltenders that are out there on the trade block. And there does not appear to be anybody of note. So we're just going to have to go through the teams and see who might be willing to trade their backup goaltender. Maybe Tyler Brennan on Montreal. He's got a 904 so far this season in 34 games played. 901 last season, 908 the year before, 908 the year before that. So he at least looks consistent. Playoffs. He had a 917 in the playoffs in the 2028-29 season. And he's making $3 million for the next 2 years. So maybe Montreal would be willing to give him up. Although, I mean, Montreal is not even close to the cap ceiling. In fact, they're pretty close to the cap floor. So that might not work. All right. What about 1 year of Sorokin? He's 36 years of age. He's got 2-star ability, making 8.25 for 1 year. So if I can get the Islanders to retain 50% on Sorokin, then I think I think he'd be a decent backup goaltender just for this year. He's got a 921 save percentage in 43 games played. So I think it'd be worth it to acquire him, even if only for this year. So I'm going to have them retain 50%. And I just have the rights to Kurt Glockner on there. He's half-star ability, 1-star potential, really nothing special. He's 21 years of age. And in exchange for Ilya Sorokin at 50% of his salary retained, there's not too much that we can get back, honestly. Even a 4th-round pick is too much for this deal. And then if I put a 5th, a 6th, and a 7th, and then if I put another 5th, it becomes very likely, but I can't put a 4th on there. you have all these picks on there of 2 5ths, a 6th, and a 7th, but not a 4th. So this is basically the only thing that's going to work. The rights for Kurt Glockner in exchange for Sorokin at 50% of his salary retained, and a lot of depth picks for the upcoming draft. Offer trade finalized. There it is. So we have our backup goaltender, hopefully. We'll send down Garand. And I think we just got to hope that Levi can bounce back. Yeah, like he has such a solid history of having a good save percentage, right? 916 in year number one, or his year number one, I guess. 2025-26, yeah, that was year number one. And then 905, 908, 907, 910, 907. This is the first year that he struggled like this, you know? So, and of course, it was the year that we offered him his huge contract. So I'm hoping that he's going to be able to bounce back. I do believe that he will, because he's, like I said, he's shown that he's been nothing but consistent throughout the entire franchise mode. I don't see why he wouldn't be able to bounce back. And that's after a great playoff performance last year as well. You gotta think that he's gonna be able to bounce back. So with that being done, I think we're just gonna take this past the trade deadline and advance to the playoffs. All right, we have reached the end of the regular season. We have finished 55, 25, and 4. Good enough for first in the division and second in the league. So no President's Trophy, but maybe that's for the best. Now let's check out the player stats. Aram Olsen with 82 points in 81 games played leads the way. Then you have Dahlin with 66, McKenna with 58, Oslin with 55, Eklund Asp with 52, Nuchev with 48, Coyley with 47. He did much better than I thought he would. Then you have Stenberg with 46, Thompson with 45. So we picked it up towards the end of the season there, it looks like, but he definitely had a dry spell there for a while. Then you have Misik with 36, Morrow also with 36, 35 for Benson and Ufko, 32 for Bryazkin, 31 for Pedersen and Hellenius, Ellefson with 24, Romanov with 22, Grivo with 20, Faber with 18, Evans with 15, Del Mastro with 9, Wahlberg with 4, and Arkan Van Dale with 3. And in goal for Levi in 69 games played, you have 5 shutouts and an 897 save percentage. So his first down season of this entire franchise mode, and it just so happened to be the season where I offered him that long-term contract. So we'll see if he's able to bounce back next season. And hopefully he does so in the playoffs as well. Sorokin in 46 games played has a 919 save percentage, and he has an 895 in 3 games played for us, so that's just great. And then Garand in 6 games played with 879. So goaltending all around this season for us has not been good, which is unfortunate. Thankfully, goaltending wasn't such a detriment to us that it hurt our record all that much. And in fact, I think we had a better record this year than last year, yeah. But obviously, I'm hoping that we can get it together in the playoffs, goaltending-wise, and get our 3rd Stanley Cup in 5 seasons, the campaign for which starts out against the 48-29-7 Pittsburgh Penguins. So with that, I think we'll end things off here, but not before I thank the channel members. Thank you guys so much for all your support, and I'll see you guys in the next one.